We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, and 1410 KERI. Our in-studio guest, Rudy Salas, Democratic candidate for the 32nd Assembly District. So, Clay, you had a question you were going to start off with?
Several questions, but one of them is, Rudy, if you win this election, and I don't know where you are in the polls because I haven't followed it, you can tell us where you are in the polls, but if you win this election, what's the city going to do about your city council seat?
Yeah, good question. Polling looks very positive for us, but we need to make sure that we keep doing our work. I think everything we've been doing over the last couple of years, I think people have been taking notice. You know, we're kind of a roll up our sleeves, get the job done kind of a campaign, and that's just who I am as an individual. If we're successful in November, what happens with the city council seat? The city council will have two decisions. One, they can appoint somebody, or two, they can call a special election. And so I think what the city council will do is hear from the public, see what the public wants to do, see what residents in Ward 1 want to do, and make a decision from there.
Now, as far as this particular election is concerned, Speaker Perez seems to think this is a really key position or a key election because he's even sent down his own people to come down and help you win this election, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, it's a priority race. I mean, as we know, historically, looking at this assembly seat, it's always been a top race in the entire state, right? So you have people that want to help, right? And people want to help from all over. You know, I have actually some of the folks I went to college with that are here in the campaign that are helping me as well.
Where'd you go to school?
UCLA.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's right.
Fight on.
Big SC fan, so.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm cheering for a California team because I just feel like we always get the short end of the stick when you're looking at the powerhouses in the East Coast.
Yes,
and
we do.
We don't even get covered on national TV, so.
Yeah. Rudy, I do have a little bit of criticism, something that came up, and this is something we've talked about. Actually, it's been a reoccurring subject for the last couple of weeks. We had Bruce Hershenson on. I don't know if you remember him or not.
No.
We had him on a couple shows ago.
He's not that old.
Yeah, I know, it's true. Yeah, he ran against Barbara Boxer way back when. But anyways, talking about negative campaigning, and unfortunately how you're seeing more and more of that. And you had an ad talking about, that I thought was misleading, talking about your opponent selling alcohol to a minor. During the great debate, that question came up. He gave what I thought was a pretty good explanation of it, and it didn't seem to be anything at all like your campaign ad was. Do you think your campaign ad was misleading?
Well, you know, the truth is never negative unless it's against you and you feel like it puts you in a bad light.
How is it the truth?
There's court documentations. I can show you that or provide that for you. My opponent was busted for providing alcohol to a minor. That is factual.
Okay, but the ad makes the assumption. You know, I mean, I listened to the ad and I didn't know anything about the story. I thought the impression I had was he was waiting outside of a liquor store selling, you know, buying alcohol for a minor and then, you know, having him give him a few bucks for buying it. That's the impression you get from the ad. In reality, he was working there and didn't card somebody when he should have carded him. That's a little different than the implication from the ad.
Well, you know, he's still an adult. He still provided alcohol to a minor.
Okay.
You know, what I ask myself is, you know, if this person he sold alcohol to had went out, got into a DUI or killed somebody, would it be okay?
Okay,
the
but
answer
Rudy,
is no.
No, I agree with that. But is
Right.
the ad misleading because of the impression it gives?
Did he provide alcohol to a minor? The answer is yes.
He didn't card somebody when he worked in a liquor store.
He provided alcohol to a minor.
Okay. So we're splitting a hair here. Okay. So, from my 2 cents, it just seemed a little misleading because it was a little disingenuous because the impression is not at all what happened. So, and I understand the political ramifications. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate. I didn't like that ad either, but it's part of life and it's part of what goes on. So I guess dirty ads are okay in some people's opinion. I mean, not that it's necessarily a dirty ad, but that's how a lot of people perceived it.
Yeah,
but,
and, you know, to be quite honestly, it's the truth. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff said, I know, in the primary between my opponent and the supervisor. A lot of things that were going on there that you can probably put in this category as well. And, you know, and they were launched actually from my opponent.
What I'd really like to see, and I'm sure you're going to do this, is let's talk about Rudy Salas. Let's talk about Pedro Rios.
Actually, I have TV that's doing that now this week.
And what you've done, what you're doing, what you plan on doing, and how you're going to get it done.
Absolutely. So we have TV commercials actually running this week. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're kind of, this is who Rudy Salas is. I know I've already been getting a lot of text messages from people already out in the community that have been watching them all. But, just my background, and I think you guys know this, and I talked about it before, but, I was born and raised here in Bakersfield and in Delano. I grew up around the fairgrounds, so we call that, a tougher part of the city. All public schools. Was the only one from my high school to go to UCLA. Had 2 jobs in college. Had to work my way through. My parents, as much as they wanted to help, was a financial constraint, and so I had to pay my way through school. You guys know that I worked at the White House right after college. Did financial work there, and then even though I had job offers to stay in D.C. or to go to L.A., I took a job here at Cal State Bakersfield because I really wanted to make a difference back home.
And you worked for Dean Flores for a while, right?
Correct.
And Al Gore.
And Al Gore.
Correct.
Yeah. So, are you partially responsible for inventing the internet, or did you have anything to do with that?
Remember the movie Inception? I planted the seed. Right. No, I'm just kidding.
Our in-studio guest, Rudy Salas, Democratic candidate for 32nd Assembly District.
So, bottom line, Rudy, you've done a good job on City Council, I understand.
Yeah. If you've looked at, we've increased our credit rating. If you've looked at the reports, remember we had the LA Times article that, we could use a little bit of Bakersfield actually with a lot of these cities throughout the 32nd Assembly District. Construction up over 23%. There's just been so many different things that are positive that have been happening. Right? We've added more police officers on the streets.
But you haven't given them a salary increase.
That's because 19%, they're refusing it.
19% the management has taken at the city, and the police haven't had a salary increase in years. The question, they may be refusing it, but I'm wondering what the reasons are.
Yeah, and I can't get into all of those because that's personnel, and I don't want the city have the city be liable for something I've said on the air. But actually, I have a great relationship with the police department and with the officers, and we've been working on a number of issues, not just cleaning up our streets, but actually even on the contract front. And so I'm hoping we can resolve and have that deal done fairly
So with
soon.
all these things going on and all the great things you've done at the city, why are you running for state?
Really, it's everybody around me that says we really need you. We really need you, and we need you to help put this state on the right direction. We've seen what you've done on the city council and what you've done in Ward 1. It's really just been a push from them, and I'm very thankful for all of them.
Mm-hmm. Rudy, one of the issues that's important to your opponent is education. Have you seen Waiting for Superman?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I think I saw it when it first came out. What was that, about a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. It's one of those movies that really makes an impact on people. And, it talks about the unions. The example they give is Los Angeles and also, New York City, where they've got that building full of teachers that they can't fire. They don't want them out there on the street teaching, so they've got them just sitting there doing nothing, reading newspapers, waiting to draw retirement. So, obviously the unions run that city for the most part, and we have the same problem here in the state. So when it comes to education, some of the other issues where the unions are really running the state, what about you in education? What about you in the environment? Are you going to be able to fight the unions? You get a lot of union support, right?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's the legislators and the voters that are running this state, and we need to make that clear. Like I said, I want to do everything that's right for our community, and if that puts me at odds with leadership or a union, then so be it. I'm not really in this to like I said, for a title or for an office, and if I have to, and if I get pushback because of that, then so be it. At the end of the day, this is where my family lives. This is where I live. This is where I plan on raising my own family, and that's going to be paramount over anything else.
Okay, so Clay, another thing we have here is if the unions, we can have.
Rudy, I appreciate what you're saying about you want to go up there and make a difference, and people can say you go up there and make a difference. But let's talk about the bottom line. You're not going to be able to make a difference because the Democrats already have the majority of everything. All the elected offices are Democrats. They have majority in both houses up there. So how are you going to make a difference?
The same way we do here locally. Roll up our sleeves and kind of get down and, just get into it and actually make a difference that way, right? I think that's why you see the type of support I get, right? We're over 30 local elected officials, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, right, that have endorsed. I'm the only Democratic council member to co-host events with a Republican colleague, right? So when we're saying we're trying to build those majorities, yeah, there's a lot of Democrats, but you know what? This incoming class with redistricting, I believe it's a lot more moderate. a lot more pragmatic. You're going to see people try to do things right for the state in the long run instead of this musical chairs that we have with the current term limits that we have now.
If you're elected, I certainly hope you will make a difference. And I'm
Thank
going to
you.
watch you closely because this community needs a difference.
We do. There's a lot of needs in our community. We see it every day, and there's a lot of good work that we still need to do. But, real quick, so I could touch on it, more jobs, better schools, safer neighborhoods, balanced budgets. That's the platform.
Great. Rudy, thank you for taking the time, and if you are elected, we will be talking to you definitely.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you
Rudy.
for having me this morning.
We'll be back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.